JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where music and life connects. Let's go.
Fuck, I feel like a rookie right now, man. Jesus. It's, like I said, it's been a long day. So yeah, like I know who you are, like everybody else.
Yeah.
But so tell me, how did things in country music go? Because you've been playing for, I know I've been playing for decades, and you've been playing for what, 3 decades?
Well, I didn't have gray hair when I started, I can tell you that much. And I had long hair back then too. Now I got none.
Oh shit! Well, look at me. I got a hat on. Well, you too.
I started. Back in the mid '80s, I guess I started playing at little clubs around Victoria, because I'm originally from Victoria, and I started building a little bit of a following. I did like sing-alongs, and I played in this little place called the Fernwood Inn, and I found when I got my start, I was in rock bands in high school and stuff. And a girlfriend at the time says, "Why don't you try country?" Because I wasn't a great rock singer. I was just average. And she heard me sing some country stuff. She goes, "You should try country." And so I thought, okay, well, why not, right? So I was raised with it. My dad, played guitar around the campfire, and I sang. He sang like Roger Miller songs and Johnny Cash songs, and he had I used to listen to all his records, like the Gordon Lightfoot records and stuff like that. So I was influenced by country for sure. Country, folk, rock, blues. I had a little bit of everything, which was it was great growing up that way. And I just followed the country scene. I just seemed to, it came naturally. I kind of had the voice for it. I started finding heroes in country. Like one of my heroes was Waylon Jennings, the outlaw eras and stuff like that, was because that to me was just great music, and I connected with it. So I just kind of followed along that lines. And then as time went on, I just I started, I was writing songs since I was 13 years old, and I actually I'm writing a book for my, I can't say who it's for, but it's all handwritten with all my songs in it. And I'm going to give it to them. And I was going, I'm going to find some old songs. And I went through and I found out, man, I wrote a lot of bad songs. It was like, you could see the learning process over the years, how they were started off really bad and they slowly got better and better and better and over the years. So it was kind of fun. But I found literally stacks and stacks of books that I would just write songs. And I must have I don't know how many songs. I actually go through and count them all, but it's just literally, tons and tons. And I wound up, just learning to write kind of country songs from the artists that I liked. And I think that my major influence was a guy named Steve Earle. And because the guy was just an amazing writer. And I kind of tried to mimic his writing. And as I kind of did that, as I learned, like how to, put songs together and put lyrics together. And that's where I kind of I think I learned, more from just, listening to those guys, and to me, that was what I wanted to do. Is I don't even consider myself a singer. I like to consider myself a songwriter. Mm-hmm. And it was country that I kind of followed along, and I just chugged along through the years, and I made a career out of it.
That's awesome. And are most of your albums and stuff, are they all original, or do you do any covers?
I did a couple covers on one album called Outside the Lines. I actually did a guy by the name of Billy Joe Shaver. A lot of people don't know him up here, but down in the States, he was huge. He was Waylon Jennings recorded an album called Honky Tonk Heroes, and 9 out of the 10 songs on there were Billy Joe Shaver songs. Wow. So that's how good of a writer he was. And but he had a song called Georgia on a Fast Train. And I always played it live and stuff, so I thought that was one I wanted to cover. And on the same album, I also did a cover of Bob Seger's "Turn the Page." because at the time my guitar player was Tony Dell. I know everybody seems to know Tony, but Tony's a little short Italian guy, and sausages for fingers, but can play like a mother. Like he's just incredible. And but his influence was David Gilmour. Like he loved that style of playing. His influence was everybody, but from Roy Gallagher to Gilmour to Hendrix, whatever. And but he had this Gilmour sound, so we played the Turn the Page live, and he had this haunting delayed guitar going on doing the sax part and stuff, and it was just, we wound up doing it, and it's an 8-minute version of Turn the Page. So we wound up recording it.
That's awesome.
So that was on the album as well. But so we didn't do a lot of covers. The majority of it was all original though.
Yeah. And what was your biggest hit?
I did a song in 2003 for when the BC fires were happening. It was called Praying for Rain. And I was driving home from playing at a gig in Boone County, and the job was over, and the fires were still burning, and all of a sudden there was like a spit of rain on my windshield, and all of a sudden it just popped into my head, the song called Praying for Rain. And so I recorded it, and by the time I got home, actually I had finished the song, had like probably 85% of the song done. I was writing as I was driving, because it's just coming at me like incredibly fast. I thought, I'm going to get in a car accident if I don't be careful. But by the time I got home, I had like 85% of the song done.
Wow.
And I went into the studio. I went it down to the warehouse and recorded it at Brian Adams' studio there, and had some volunteer guys come in and record it, and some great players. So Mike Norman produced it. And it turned out really good. We wound up I donated the proceeds to the Canadian Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund, and wound up, I think, I was like Single of the Year and Song of the Year, or Songwriter of the Year, or something like that for that at the BC CMAs that year for that song. So the song did really well for me.
That's awesome. That's very, very cool. So when you write tunes, does it always happen in weird moments like that where you're driving, or do you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song and here's what I'm going to do? Or...
It's funny. It comes in like bursts, for me. I can be I find sometimes driving, I'll get an idea, and I got my phone. So, I'll put down the idea, or a melody will pop into my head, or whatever it is. Sometimes when I just sit down and write, I get lucky. Other times you sit down and you could look at a blank piece of paper for hours and nothing happens. It's just one of those things that just comes. Yeah, I find the best songs come really fast.
Yeah, no, I can.
Yeah, so songs that I still have songs that I've had for eons, and I still work on them because there's something that I just don't want to give up on some of them. It's like Leonard Cohen when he did Hallelujah. Like for 5 years, he was trying to, he just wouldn't give up on the song, and good thing he didn't. So it was just one of those things you just don't want to. Sometimes they're like babies, you just don't want to give up on them.
Yeah, for sure. And have you ever found that like a song that you think is going to be great, and you go, now this is one people are really going to like, that maybe they don't like that as much as one that you're like, this is not so good on my list of favorites, and then people love that one?
Yeah, there's been a few. Like I was down in Nashville years ago, and I was kind of feeling homesick for Canada, and I thought, I'm going to write a song about Canada, right? And I got this song called God I Love This Country, called The Great White North, right? We even did a video of it for CMT and stuff, and everybody loves this song, and it's one of those songs I'm going, to me it's a big hunk of cheese, I just do it. But the thing is, when I play it live, people love it, and it gets me into the song again. But I guess it's one of those things I just won't go out of my way to play it. But for some reason, people love it. I don't know why, but they do. I guess it's because you're proud Canadians and stuff like that, so they get into it and stuff. But every time I do a major show, like at a festival or something, I always play it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned your dad was played guitar and did around the campfires and stuff. Is there anyone else in your family that you got your music talents from, or?
No, my mom, she's going to hate me for saying this, but my mom can't carry a tune in a bucket. She tries. Man, she tries. She's a sweet lady. She really does. And she even plays a bit of guitar. You know, they used to have a little group that sit around and they'd all play guitars, my uncle and my aunt and my dad. And they had this little group that would get together and play. And I'd come in because at this time I'm already, you know, I was on the road. I'd come back and they're all playing. And they'd go, "Oh, you got to come in and play." And I'm like, "No, I just want to sit and listen." You know, that's all I would do. And but I think what must have been bulk of it was probably from my dad.
Yeah, for sure. So you've obviously done a lot of touring and live shows and things. What are your thoughts on how things have transitioned from, you know, the heyday, I guess we could call it, of the 80s, 90s, and, you know, even early 2000s, you know, those week-long stints and longer tours and world of agents booking stuff and all that good stuff, right? And then
how much time do you got?
Well, we got as much time as you want to give me, right? Because, you know, I ask everybody I have on the podcast about that. You know, again, I've got my opinions, but I love to hear, especially guys that, you know, have as much experience as you do, you know, what your thoughts are on all of that.
Oh, like, you mean, are you like, you know, what it is like compared to today as it was yesterday?
Well, I guess we know it sucks today compared to yesterday for the most part, to just put it bluntly, right? But, you know, I guess in terms of like some of your thoughts of like, how did we get here? You know, how did things
I don't
they
know.
were
Like,
good.
I enjoyed, like, I toured for probably, oh God, close to 30 years, over 30 years. And, you know, I wound up, you know, having a kid, and I didn't want to tour anymore because I wanted to spend my time with him. And I did still tour, but I didn't tour even a quarter of what I normally would have done. But you know, all those years of touring, I even wrote a book about the stuff I toured from the time I started music to the time, right up until, you know, I still play today, but like you said, it's not the same. The music or the money's not there like it was. Like I was back in the, like you said, like probably I guess the early 2000s, right up to about 2010, I was making really good money. And, you know, it was a career. And now it's also me changing what I wanted. I'm focusing more on songwriting now than I am of performing. To me, I really like the process of writing. So for me to go and tour, if I'm going to go tour now, it's going to be me playing my own stuff and not cover stuff. You know, I don't miss the old days. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of, you know, you missed, you know, birthdays and anniversaries and big, you know, holidays and stuff because you were out on the road. We were working so much. We were turning down work, you know, 52 weeks out of the year, we were working. And so you missed out on a lot of stuff. But today, I think today, I feel sorry for the young kids today that want to go out and play music because they can't do what we did. You know, it's not there anymore. We would go out for 3 months at a time and we played, like you said, 6 nights a week, travel on the Sunday. Sometimes you played on a Sunday and had to leave after that and get to the next job to play on Monday somewhere else, 600 miles away. You know, and that's what we did. And it was a great tool for learning your craft, learning to become an entertainer, a musician, a writer, everything. You know, like when I was on the road, I was the leader of the band. So when you're leader of the band, you do everything. You know, you're the manager, you're the bus driver, you know, you're the babysitter for the, you know, some of the band members sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a lot of work, but it was a learning experience. And these kids today, that they don't have that. You know, what they have today is, oh, well, to make it now, you got to go on, you know, Star Search or whatever it is, the latest, you know, show that gets you. That's the way they think. Or it's, you know, the internet.
Yeah,
You know,
become a
that's their only
TikTok
tool.
star. Yeah.
TikTok star, exactly. You know, where you're playing in front of a camera and not people. You can't learn your craft that way. You know, you really can't. And you know, I'm glad that it was in that era because we learned so much. You know, you learn to become a band, and you know, you have to make sacrifices. And today they don't have that. They don't have that opportunity, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know, you can play at your local bar, you know, And
Yeah.
if you really, get a chance to maybe open up for somebody, you might be able to hit the road and do it that way, but now it's not the same.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we live in an era now where so many people will say, you'll relate to back in the day. It was like, man, I got that band's album and they were great. And I saw them live and holy shit, were they good? Like way better
Yeah.
than their album. And it's done like a 180 in almost every aspect of the business, where the albums nowadays often sound better than the bands do live,
Yeah. Well,
because the technology they've leveraged to fabricate themselves.
yeah, well, they've overproduced them is what they've done.
Yeah.
They need 15-piece band to reproduce it, or they're using backing tracks, whereas the bands that we saw, there wasn't backing tracks. Everything was live off the stage. And that was great. Like you said, some of the best bands I saw, like you said, were better than their albums, It was amazing, and then the energy that they gave off too, it wasn't just the volume, it was just an energy that was where now today everything seems like there's some of the shows are compressed, there's like, it still sounds like it's overproduced, because they're using backing tracks and stuff. I'm not saying all of them are like that. Like I saw Chris Stapleton a couple of years back, and all he had was the drums, bass, and him on guitar, and his wife singing harmony. And it sounded freaking amazing. His voice filled out I think it was Rogers Arena, and it was, and that's all it was. There's no backing tracks at all. And so there is bands out there that are still doing it, but there's also the ones that can't do it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
There's always the few that kind of pop out, and I feel like there is a lot of great musicians that can play at that level. And I think what you're talking about with when you're playing on a 3-month tour, playing 6 or 7 nights a week, you really hone your craft, which people don't do nowadays, which I think is the big part of why things are overproduced now, because they just don't have the hours of their instrument behind them in many cases.
No, they don't.
The ones that do are never mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think, it'd be nice if you could get it back. I don't think you will, because the clubs aren't there anymore, because that's where you started. You started in your garage usually. I remember playing in my mom and dad's living room, and on the shelf was, my mom had all these little crystal ornaments like owls and all these type of things, right? And we're in the living room, and of course, we're practicing, and the bass guitar is shaking the walls, and all their crystal things fall off the wall. And, that's where you started. It was in the garage. Then you went from the garage to playing backyard parties. And then next thing you were lucky enough, you might be able to play at the, a local, event or something like that. And then when you got old enough, you could play in your local pub, and then you got good enough after that, then you're on the road playing in bars, and it just progressed, and that's how you learned. Now, I like I said, I feel sorry for them. They're still out there. It's just not as like it was before.
Yeah. What advice would you give somebody getting into it, or if you have advice, I guess, based on what you know of the industry?
I think you just got to do it because don't go in it because you're going to become everybody thinks, they're going to be famous or a rock star, or whatever it is. If you're going in it for that, don't go in it. You're going to be sorely disappointed. Yeah, you really are. If you really, really enjoy it, you'll find a way. You'll find a way. Like I was lucky. My parents they supported me. If you got the support of your family and your friends and stuff like that, and like I always had people never give up, never give it up. So I just kept on going, and people saw something in me. So, if you feel like you've got something in you, you'll find a way to get it done. Like if you have to go on TikTok and do it that way, then do it that way. You have to adjust to the times, and these are the times that it is. Everything is on the internet now. Mm-hmm. But don't rely on it. Get out there as much as you can and play live to wherever you can. If it's your music or even cover songs, just to hone your craft. Yeah. Definitely, your craft is everything. It's not just playing one song. It's learning to read a crowd. It's learning all that stuff, and uh, and if you, like I said, if it's, it, I know it. If you're a musician, it's in your blood. You're going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
almost 60. I'm 58 years old or 59 years old, and I can't stop. There's times I'm going, why am I doing this? I still do it. I have to do it. It's just in your blood. You can't stop. If I'm not playing live, I'm writing a song. There's times where I'm just like, I'm downtime. I can't do it. Right. But there's just, you'll find a way to keep yourself going, and if it's in your blood, you'll find a way to do it. If you question yourself, then, if you constantly are questioning yourself, then maybe it's not for you. I don't know, but deep down, you'll know.
No,
sure. What it's like.
Yeah. Well, I kind of experienced exactly what you're saying there. When COVID hit, I put a few albums out, in the last 10 years, and they got some good award nominations and things like that, and had some good irons in the fire. And then when COVID hit, I kind of realized, I don't need music to survive. And similar to your story, I had my first daughter in 2005, and up to then I was touring extensively a fair bit. And then same reasons, it was like, okay, you want to be around home and don't want to be out on the road as much. And then when COVID hit, I was kind of like, I don't need this. And some interests went some other ways where I could still be creative. So I didn't, have that block. And then I thought, well, fuck it. I guess I'm retired. I guess, and then things started picking up and the phone started ringing a bit. And I was like, okay, well, the money's not what it used to be by any means, but you get out there and then you get that bug again. You get that, energy from the crowd, and, things kind of pick up. And like you say, I was like, well, it's in my blood.
I just find I've been a little more picky. I just find that if there's a job that I'm going, somebody wants you to play the Legion. I don't want to play the Legion. And then we're doing a show at the winery on in Mill Bay in a couple of weeks, and I love playing it because the people are coming to hear us play. They're not sitting in a bar, making clanking music. They're actually coming to hear us play.
Yeah.
So those type of shows, I love doing those shows. So I'm more picky. It's like, well, if I don't have to do a job, then I'd rather stay home and write a song, or, hang out with my kid or whatever it may be. Then I would rather, this way I'm not getting sick of it, and that's why I said, like just like you, I changed things around a little bit. Like I was touring so much, I thought, well, maybe I'll focus more on writing, and that's what I've been doing now. It's just doing lots of more writing. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a wall over here. There's over there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'll see it. The list of all my songs I've been working on. So.
That's I did see that whiteboard there. I can't see what any of the text is, but I did notice. Is that a Vox AC30 you got back there?
Oh no, that's my buddy in Japan. He was my best friend. He came back and he was going to move back. He moved over there years ago, and he's a guitar player. And he came back and he brought all his stuff back. And he goes, "Well, I'm going back to Japan." He said, "But I ain't got room. Hold my amp for me." And I went, "Okay." What it is he made it, and it's a duplicate of a Dumble.
Oh,
so
okay.
The thing sounds phenomenal. It's a great little amp.
Wow, yeah, Dumbles are great.
So he made the amp. He's one of these guys that does everything. He's like he can, you name it. He was learning classical guitar. 3 months later, he was teaching it. He's one of those type of guys.
I hate
just
those guys.
He picks something up, he can do it. So he started making amps. Next thing you know, he's got people all over Japan wanting his amps.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So yeah.
I hate those guys.
Yeah, I know.
They make me want to quit.
Yeah, I know.
So what are you doing now? I see guitars on the wall back there. Yeah, and the amp and your music writing board.
Yeah.
You got was it the McCoy Turncliffe? How do I say that?
Yeah, that's my girlfriend, Christy. She's on a cruise right now with her sister. So her sister and her jumped on a cruise, but she's going to be doing the show with me on the 23rd over on ML Bay.
Nice.
And actually, we're doing another show in Langley too, with Cliff McCoy on the 21st at, oh God, I can't remember the name of the place now. It's a bistro in Langley. I'll have to look it up.
Porters.
That's
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we're
I
doing
saw
a show
that.
there on the yeah, and yeah, so we're doing those things, and we've been doing a lot of those shows, just a little duo. It's a duo thing, and it's just acoustically. And she's an amazing singer. You got to hear her sing. She can just belt it out. And I remember we were playing at the Langley Casino, and this is before I knew she could sing. And Tony, my guitar player, knew her, and I just briefly knew her. And I just met her recently, and she had, he says, well, why don't you get her up? I said, can she sing? She goes, oh, yeah, she can sing. I said, okay. So I get her up on stage. We're at this Langley Casino. I don't know if you remember, I don't know what they got rid of the venue. I think it's a bingo hall now, but it was a big stage, all this, seating, and then they had back wall had windows out into the casino.
Yep.
And we get her up. And I said, well, what song do you want to sing? And she goes, I don't know. Like, how about Highway to Hell? I'm like, okay. So I start off the riff, and all of a sudden she belts it out, and my head just spins around like this. And the place just drops. Like, the whole place just quietens right down, right? And they're all just listening to her. And I can see the people that run the machines now coming to the windows looking in to see who's singing. That's a type of voice she has. It just booms. She's such a powerful voice. So it was pretty cool. Then, I was like, by the end of the song, I'm like, really? I couldn't believe how good she was.
How do I follow that?
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, that's
but yeah,
awesome.
no, we've been doing a lot of shows like that. And then when bigger shows come in for the band, I just hire the band and we do the bigger shows.
And how big is the band?
Well, usually it's just a 5-piece. It'll be like, I usually use Gary Grace on drums or Theo Pierre on drums, whoever's available. Gary's an amazing drummer. I don't know if you know Gary or not. He plays with Prism.
Yeah.
And I use either Jay Whitter on bass or Joe Fernandez on bass, and then a friend of mine named Steve-O on guitar, or Tony. If Tony's kind of retired now, so I don't really, I try to get him out, but he's like, oh, just use Steve-O. It's like one of those things. So, and then myself and sometimes Christy and Christy all together. So nice. It's just a little 4-piece with 2 singers is what it is.
Cool. So you got Fernandez on bass?
Joe Fernandez is a great bass player. He's really good.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. He's a phenomenal musician. But yeah, I can't say I remember him as bass.
Yeah, no, he does really well on bass. Yeah. I've used him a few times over the years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that guy in quite a while.
Yeah, he's still doing good. I think he's a rep now for Yamaha. So he travels around, and plus he's doing his own thing with his own music as well. Yeah. And when the odd job comes in, I usually try and hire him.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So what other irons do you have in the fire? You're writing a lot of songs. You got any plans to record anything?
I'd like to get a recording. Like, it comes down to money. I got my home studio, but I'm not the greatest on that type of stuff. I make little demos is all I make. Yeah. But I like to go into the studio. I use Soren out in Abbotsford here. I'm in Mission, and he's got an amazing studio, like incredible studio in his house, and it's called Studio Down Under because it's actually under the house.
Oh wow!
And it's, I don't know if you've ever been out there, but if you ever get a chance, it's incredible. It's an incredible studio, and so I try to do a lot of my recordings there because he's reasonably priced, and I just bring in the best players that I can at the time. I use guys like Jay Bittner and oh God, you name it. I use Gary on drums, and so I bring in all these studio guys and try and do it that way. But like you said, it comes down to money, So unfortunately, you just when you save up enough, you get enough. Like, okay, well, let's go record. So you go out and throw a couple more songs out there. So yeah, I do that, and I've been working on this book I have. It's called the name of the book is called $50 and a 2 for a beer, because that was the very first thing that I ever got paid. I was 15 years old in Victoria, and there was a beer strike on. I don't know if you remember when they used to have beer strikes. It was I think Labatt's was on strike, so you couldn't get beer.
Wow.
So they had this beer gardens. I guess they had saved up this beer for this beer garden. So the place was packed. It was down in front of the Empress Hotel on the War Street area. And I was there. We showed up. They told us all these bands are going to be showing up. So we went. They said, "You guys are welcome to come down." So we had this little 3-piece band. I was on guitar, and it was kind of more of almost a grunge band because I didn't play lead. We just kind of just fought. We were just kids, right? And so we go down, and we get down there, and all it is Denny's canned music. There's no PA system. There's 500 people down there that have been listening to Denny's canned music all day, and they were tired. They wanted to hear live music because that was back in those days. Live music was great. Everybody was like crazy for live music. And we look, and we had started unloading things. We realized my dad drove us down in his '74 suburban truck. We load everything in there, and we started unloading everything, and we realized that there's no PA, there's nothing, right? But the sound system they have through the back then, they had really good sound systems for DJs back then. And he had a little mixing board and stuff, and we realized this isn't going to happen. So we start loading the stuff back in, and these big biker guys come over to my dad, and they're going, "You're not going away, are you?" And my dad looks at these guys, goes, "No, we're not going anywhere." Like this. He goes, but then my dad tells him the situation, saying, "Well, there's no PA." Says, all these bikers goes, "Don't worry, we'll take care of that." And they disappear, and they come back. Says, "You have a PA, you can go into the DJ service, and they'll let you use their system." So we go there. Okay, I guess we can't leave now because there's these big bikers aren't going to let us leave. So we get up on stage. Everything's live off the stage. There's nothing mic'd other than our vocals. That was it. We had our amps and our guitars and our drums. So everything was coming live off of this trailer. And we played our hearts out. And it was amazing. And my dad was running around taking all these pictures. And he had this camera. And he didn't realize that the battery on the auto shutter died. So he took like 90 pictures and not one of them turned out. I know. He comes back, a couple days later going, "None of them turned out." And I went, "Are you kidding me?" There was for us, it was like a rock concert. We were 15 years, and we played, and we were writing songs back then. We were playing all these original songs, and we played a couple covers and stuff like that. And they loved it because it was just live music.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, at the end of the gig, we got paid. And the guy who pays us is a cop. His name, I can still remember his name. His name was Pete. I don't know his last name, but his name was Pete, and he was a cop. He says, "Okay, guys," I says, "there's no real budget for this." So he hands us $50, and he goes, "And here's a two for a beer." Now we're all underage, and it's a cop giving us the beer, right? So my dad looks at it and goes, "Yeah, you're not getting that." So my dad gives us $60 for the beer, right? Back then, that was a lot of money for beer, right? So we got $110 total. And my dad went back to the neighborhood, and he was the star of the show because nobody had beer, and he had like a 2-4. So there was a big party at my dad's place and mom and dad's place. So everybody was happy. So, and we got our $110 between 3 guys, and we went back to the drummer's house and still had a party.
Yeah, no kidding. That's more money than we make now playing a gig.
Yeah, almost. That was kind of the start of things, anyways. Yeah.
That's a great story. What's your most notable story, or one that you could share?
Story.
Oh
my God,
your greatest road story. the one you tell first.
Oh God, well, that was probably one of them. Well, another time this was younger days. This is kind of funny. We're doing a little show. Once again, it was almost, I think it was the same band, so it was still teenagers. And how I got my kind of start in music is my neighbor, his name was Rob. He got a drum set, so I had to get a guitar. So that's how it started. And my sister was going out one day to Sears, and she says, "I'm going out. Do you want anything?" I said, "Oh, I got $10. Can you buy me a rock and roll record?" That's all I said. "Buy me a rock and roll record." So she goes out. She comes back. She hands me this record, and it's Kiss Originals. So it's 3 albums in one for $10. And it comes with a booklet and everything else. I'm thinking, oh, this is cool. Like, who are these guys, right? And so I kind of got into Kiss for a little bit. And so I was sitting there, and I'm thinking, okay, we're at the show. I thought, well, Kiss has pyro and stuff. I said, we can't use pyro, but I didn't realize that if you take a pick, one of these things, hold it to a flame, it'll catch on fire because it's nylon, right? So I had a candle on my stage like Gene Simmons had in front of his amps, right? So I walk over to the stage and I'm sitting there playing away and thinking, this is really cool. And I walk over and I pull the pick over top of the flame and it catches on fire. So then I'm holding it up so everybody can see the flaming pick. And I go to, play the guitar, not realizing that flames will break strings.
Oh, shit.
Right? If you hold it there long enough. So all of a sudden it was like, bam, bam, bam. I like blow 3 strings. And I'm 50. I don't have a road crew handing me. I only had one guitar. It's like, oh no. And as I'm holding it, not realizing I'm holding like this, the flame is now going up, and it's burning my hand. Right. So I drop it. Now it's on flame. It's on fire. And it's on the stage, and it's melting into this, this little puddle of goo on this thing. In the meantime, the band didn't see what I was doing. They're like, what the hell's wrong with him? And I'm sitting there and I'm dancing around like on stage, and I'm sitting there holding my hand because it's on fire and everything else. And they're all looking at me like I'm freaking nuts. So that was my one and only pyro thing that I ever did, and I'll never do it again, obviously. But as for other stories like on the road, oh my God, there's so many of them. I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that we did. Oh, well, we would always pull pranks on one another. The best one was we were up in Prince George, and there was a cop up there who used to come up and see us. His name was Costco Joe, and he actually worked in, I don't know how he got the name, or Costco Joe or Joe Costco or whatever the hell we called him. But he worked in Williams Lake, and this is on a Friday night, and we're playing and we're talking. And we say, hey, we want to kind of prank Tony a little bit. He says, we're coming through on Sunday. He goes, well, that's perfect. I'm working Sunday. He says, when you get close, give us a call. So this is when, we just started using cell phones back then. So we're coming into, we leave Prince George. We're coming into Williams Lake, and Tony's driving. So I get on the phone, and I'm right behind Tony, and I being really, really quiet. And I'm going, hey, Tony. Or I said, hey, Joe. I said, we're coming in. He said, perfect. He said, I'm on my way up. So I can see him. And we're coming down the hill into Williams Lake, and he's coming up. And he does a U-E right behind us. And I said, hey, Tony, that cop just did a U-E. Did you do something? Are you speeding? He goes, no. So we get down to the light, and we turn left like we're going to Vancouver. And sure enough, he pulls in behind and puts on the lights, and there's this big parking area where Tony could have pulled over, but no, he pulls right on the side of the highway. So the guy he had to improvise because he didn't want Tony getting out into the traffic. So he pulls over, and he goes, gets on his speaker, and he goes, driver, get out of the vehicle, like this. And Tony goes to get out of the vehicle, and he yells back, get back in the vehicle. And Tony's like, what the hell? So he gets back in and he goes, stick your hands out of the window. So he goes to stick his hands out of the window. And he goes, put your hands back in the window. And Tony's starting to freak out. He's going, I think I'm going to die. This guy's going to kill me. So he's doing all this stuff, and he's telling him to do one thing. He'd yell at him. What he was going to do is, if he'd pulled over where he was going to get him out and get him to put his hand behind his back and walk backwards without him seeing him, right? Handcuff him and get on his knees and stuff. But he couldn't do it there, so he improvised. Anyway, so he does all this stuff, and now we're all in the back. We know what's going on. We're all killing ourselves laughing because Tony thinks he's going to die because he thinks his cop is crazy. Anyway, so next thing you know, he gets out and he puts on his hat, and he puts his head down, and he's walking towards the car, and he's kicking the tires, and he's doing all the these things, and he gets right up to the window, and he just goes, hey, Tony, how you doing like this? And Tony's like, you can see, literally he just falls. He goes, oh my God, I thought I was going to die.
I could see how that
so
would
that
get
was
the
one
heart
of the
up.
pranks we pulled on Tony. Yeah.
That's a pretty intuitive prank there.
Oh, yeah.
That's like next level.
No, it was perfectly. I actually got it on video. I had a video
No.
camera, and I'm videotaping the whole thing, so I got it on video. Yeah.
You should post it. I want to see that.
Yeah, I have to find it. It's one of those things that's in one of those cassettes that are, been thrown in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
But no, there was a lot of good times that we had over the years. I mean, the things that we would do, and it was a lot of fun. I really, it was a lot of fun, the stuff that we did. I'm surprised, the miles that we put on, that, we were so lucky we didn't get into accidents and stuff like that. I mean, we were just lucky, because we were on the road, we put on major miles. And it was, mainly Western Canada. We'd go into the States sometimes, do some shows down there. We went down to, this is another quick little story. We were leaving Prince George, and it's late at night. We left after the gig, and we're trying to get back to Vancouver. And I'm in the passenger seat. Our bass player, Mike, is driving. Our drummer is behind the driver. We're in a van with captain's chairs and stuff, and he's on the phone with his wife, and I'm just kind of sitting there, just kind of vegging, looking out the window, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something coming like this, and I go, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, bam! We hit it. It was an owl. We hit this owl dead center, and you could hear its beak crack against the window. I don't know how it did not come through the window. It was killed instantly. It had to have been, and it flies off, and it goes off into the other side of the road. And Tony's behind us in another car. He had his girlfriend, so he didn't see what had happened, and all we hear is Mike scream. Right, and I'm going, holy fuck, and Robin, who's Theo, the wife of the drummer Theo, she hears all this. She goes, what happened? And he goes, we just hit an owl. And Mike goes, I know the sound I'm gonna make when I die. He says, I'm gonna scream like a little girl. Like So we're down in the States. This is months later. We're down in the States, and we're playing at this casino, this native casino down there, and it was an amazing time down there because they treated us like gold. They literally, it was in this little town called Wagner, South Dakota, and it was like a hub, like where the casino was. It was out in the middle of nowhere, but they had all these towns around, so everybody would come to the casino. But the closest town was a town called Wagner, and we went, started playing there, and these guys just treat us. They just loved us. So he goes, "We're going to take you into Wagner. We're going to go bowling." I said, "Okay." So we get down there, and it's probably 9:30. This is on an off night, and we get down there, and there's people still bowling. They kick everybody out, and they close the bowling alley just for us. And I'm looking around going, we're not Elvis. You don't have to do this. And everybody's kind of looking, who's that? They're looking through the windows like, who's in there? Like, and they're giving us beers and we're bowling. We're having a great time. So there's the one guy, his name was Peanut. So Peanut was telling us all about the different animals. They mean different things and stuff. And he tells us, if an owl whispers your name, that means that death is coming. And so we tell him the story about Mike hitting the owl with the van. And he just looks at Mike, he winks at us, he looks at Mike, and he goes, you killed an owl? And Mike is kind of like superstitious a little bit, and he goes, yeah, not on purpose. And he just looks at me and he goes, that can't be good. Mike's face just goes pure white. He goes, oh no, this isn't good. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, we logged a lot of miles.
I'll tell you, owl. I'm not superstitious, but owls scare the shit out of me. And I'll briefly tell you why. And you're in, I don't know how long you've been in Mission.
I've been here since 2008.
Okay, so a few years before that, there was like a double homicide that happened in Mission at the hospital. And my sister's ex-fiance, I think it was her ex-fiance at the time, he was kind of a superstitious guy, and he had told myself and my dad about owls, and he had, something bad's gonna happen. I saw three owls, and that means like 3 deaths or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it turns out, to make a long story short, okay, whatever. His sister separated from her husband, and he had gone into the mission hospital and shot them both, the sister and the mother, so his ex-wife and mother-in-law. And then the police chased him up Stave, got into some sort of gunfight or something. Big news story. That was all crazy. Well, that's weird. Owls, kind of sat with me for a few years. So in 2010, I was playing the Yale Hotel with Brick House and some other bands, and I played till like 4 a.m. And I was living in Mission at the time, and I was driving back, and I hit like 240 Lougheed, and I was with my dad. He was driving, and this owl swooped right in front of our windshield, and it was like eye contact. Like you could see it.
Oh, really?
And we both looked at each other, and it had been years since, this situation with my sister's ex's family. And we looked at each other and went, that's fucking creepy. Like, what the hell, right? So I get to my house, we fall asleep, wake up, and the next morning, and this is where it's like not even funny, it's just creepy. Like my dad fucking had a heart attack and died in front of me that morning.
Oh no. Oh my goodness.
So it was like, I'm not a superstitious guy, but that was crazy. And my dad's mom, my grandmother, started calling, like the week before my dad died, started calling everybody and saying like, oh, my son died and yada, yada, yada. And when, it was like a week later, it was told you so. It's like almost like she knew. It was fucking just weird as shit, right? So when you tell me the owl story, I'm like, oh, there might be some truth to this, as weird as it is, like, oh, so yeah, owls. And I hunt a lot. So I see a lot of owls when I hunt, and I'm just kind of like, oh, and I talked to some of my native friends, and they were, tell me different stories on what their areas believe, but that's crazy. I know I got a little bat too serious on this one from being funny, but I could feel for your buddy when you did that, right? Like I'm listening to you going, I almost feel his pain right now, it's crazy.
Well, it's funny because my backyard's a ravine, right? And it's kind of a green belt. There's another property back there, but it's way back. So it's all trees. And I've had bear. We've had I think one night we even had a cougar. We've had a little bit of everything in here. But about every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be lying in bed because I sleep with my window open. I'll hear, whoo, whoo. And sure enough, they're out there. You can hear them. Yeah. As long as he doesn't whisper my name, I'm okay.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Well, I had a couple of my native buddies tell me that like if they're looking over you and watching and everything's all good, it's when they, I guess maybe when they whisper a name, but I was told like when they startle you and you and you like see their eyes. If they're just sitting perched, then they're kind of watching over you. But if they startle you, then they're warning you.
They're warning you. Oh, okay. I'll have to keep that one in my memory there.
Now you're going to be all dead. Now when you hear owls, you can be all fucking weird.
You can walk out my door like, where's the owls?
House will be up for sale, right? I'm out of here. Yeah, no. Okay, well, give me another story or something. We can't end this podcast with this.
With owls.
Yeah, with owls and shit, right?
Oh, my God. Another story. Oh, my goodness. Geez.
People love to hear stories.
What's that?
People love to hear stories.
Yeah. Well, we were Tony lost his leg below the knee. He got bit by a spider in Maple Ridge, and this was quite a few years ago now. And for about 7 years, his leg, he was working in his backyard. And he had a cut on his leg, and he looked down, and there was a spider right on the cut. And he figures the spider bit him right where the cut was, and whatever it was, the poison went into his leg. Now, he was told it was probably a brown recluse, it's probably true because from what the venom and the poison that they figured, it looked just like that type of a bite. But I've also heard stories where it's too cold here for brown recluse, so I don't know if it was true or not. But needless to say, he was bit by a spider. And so what happened is below his knee, his his leg just ballooned right up, right down to his foot. And he lived with that for about 7 years. And then he wound up, one day we're going to be playing at the Starlight Casino. And it was our first time playing there. And he was like on the phone with him. And Tony is like a sweetheart of a guy. Like he's never angry, never mad. And he's literally almost yelling at me on the phone saying, these songs aren't going to work at this place. I'm like, Tony, what's wrong, man? Like later that day, he wound up going into the hospital and he went septic because the poison was going from his leg through his body, and he literally died on the table. And the doctor came in and said his leg or his life, so they had to cut his leg off, or below the knee. So anyways, months had gone by. He's, now recovered, and we're in Calgary playing at Ranchman's, and that's the big country club out there. And we're playing, and we'd finished, and out the back door where the stage is, there's a back door that goes out into the parking lot. So we go out there and we're trying to get out, and Tony is trying to get into the sound man's car, but the only way to get out of this place is you got to go on the side of the building to get around, and they're kind of blocking it while he's trying to get in, and this taxi driver comes up behind him and starts blowing his horn. And what had happened was when Tony went to put his foot in, it got caught in the door and his leg fell off. Right? So I saw what happened, but the taxi driver doesn't know what's going on. So I yell at the taxi driver. I said, "Hey, give him a break. His leg fell off." Right? And the look on the taxi driver's face was, he's trying to comprehend, like, how does somebody's leg fall off? You can see like the confusion in his brain. Right. So we pile them all in, and away we go. But I think one of the stories I always liked was I had this drummer named Rick. And Rick was one of the type of guys, when he got out of the hotel, or got to a hotel, he'd run to see which was the best room. He would, if you're ordering a piece of pie, he wanted the biggest piece of pie. He was, that type of guy, right? He was a super nice guy. Don't get me wrong, but he's just had that little quirk about him, right? So we're on the road. We're just exhausted. I think we're in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and we decided we're going to stop and get some food. And there was this, order a pizza place. So we go in there, and he's looking up at the board, and we can see him. I know exactly that something was clicking in his brain. And he looks at the guy and he just goes, "How big is your 10-inch pizza?" That's right. So the guy's looking kind of like, "It's 10 inches." But he almost confused, like he was going to go back and ask the manager, like, "How big is our 10-inch pizza?" You could see it. And we're all looking at him going, "Did you really just say that?" And he just like, you could see the look on his face, like, "Yeah, that was kind of stupid to say that," So yeah, so we had a lot of great times on the road. It was a lot of fun. It was like some of the stories you just can't tell, but I mean, most of them are just like, just fun stuff, But I really do miss it at times. Other times I don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting to you're staying at a band house, and you get there and like the sheets are disgusting, and like you just I always brought a sleeping bag with me, just in case those things were like that, But most of the time it was pretty good. But there'd be the odd time it was just like, "Oh God, I can't stay here." My very first time on the road, that's what happened. I was I was probably 19 years old, driving up to Merritt to play at I better not say the name of the hotel, I might get, but it's still going.
We could leave that part out.
Starts with an A. Let's just say that, right? So, and I pull around the corner, I stop, and this gentleman who was leaning against the wall walks over and falls between my wheels and the curb and is wedged in there. Like, I literally stopped and he falls like right into that. I went, "Oh my God." So I get out and I can barely get him out. He's wedged in there so good. I finally get him out and I prop him up against the wall. He's, drunkard and skunk. And I, "Okay, partner." And he goes, "Oh yeah." So I load in all my gear. I thought this is not a good start. And I load in my gear, and sure enough, I said, "Where's my room?" So, you're staying here? I went, oh God, this isn't good. He goes, oh yeah, your room's upstairs. I go upstairs, and there's this room that hadn't been taken care of in 3 weeks.
Oh.
You know, the bed was on the floor. Sheets hadn't been changed. There was crap everywhere. It's like, I just looked at him and said, I'm going to stay with my uncle down the road. And I wound up, going down the road and staying at a motel. It cost me $235 to stay for 5 nights there. And I think I got paid $500. And I came over from the island. So I drove up, plus I had the ferry. I broke even. I think I broke even, or it was a little bit less. But the clientele there was amazing. Like it was like, if you want to go people watching, that was the place to go. There was a guy come walking in. I don't know if you remember Jack Elam. Do you remember the actor Jack Elam? He had the wonky eyes, always had a gruffy beard. He was in all the John Wayne movies and stuff. But if you look him up, this guy looked just like him, but his name was Blackie. And he had a cowboy hat on. The hat band was all bent up. The hat, he had his jeans tucked into his boots, a buckskin jacket. He was just missing the mule walking behind him. That's what he looked like. He just stepped out of the, and he would sit there and he'd just look at you and he'd just go, and he would smile. He had like one tooth, and he would just smile and laugh at you. He wouldn't say anything. You could talk to him, but he wouldn't say anything. He would just sit there and laugh. And that was the type of characters that were in this bar. And it was the best thing is my mom and dad decided they were going to surprise me and my aunt and uncle, and they drove up from Victoria to see me play. And when they walked in the door, I went, oh, thank God. I had actually packed up my PA system every night and took it back to the motel because it was a rough bar, rough bar. Yeah, so that was my start of going on the road. That was my very first time on the road. And I thought, it's got to get better than this, and it did. It got a lot better. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. They're great memories. They really are. Like I said, I've got all these written in a book. I just haven't had a chance to finalize it yet. So that's another project I'm working on, is getting the book done.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, you'll have to let me know when you get that out. For sure. And what I guess, so you got the Turncliffe McCoy, and you're still doing the Ken McCoy band as well?
Yeah, it's more Turncliffe McCoy than anything. I just, I get the odd job here and there, but I've been really focused on the writing and playing the odd, duo show. And I said, if the band comes in, it's usually a big paying job. I just don't feel like playing little pubs anymore. I just, I was playing like all the cabarets back in the day, like Roosters and Boone and Gabby's and all those type of places back in the day when they were all booming. Now they're all gone. Every one of them's gone.
Yeah.
And, so you're playing to like 300-400 people sometimes in a night, which was great, and we did the odd little, thing, but we were also doing big festivals. We did Merritt Mountain Music Fest, and we did Craven, and I did all these type of shows that we've done all over the years, and it was a lot of fun. I got another story. Let's
hear it.
We just did a festival, and we were going to. So we'd mix it up. You're on the road. You just fill in holes. So in between doing a festival, you go play a bar in between that, and then you do a one-nighter doing something else. Then you go back to a club, and then another festival, just to keep yourself out on the road. And we just finished the festival. We did a great job. Our heads were like, our heads were getting big. Like, hey, we're doing really well. And we get to this bar. It was Long Riders in Edmonton. It's no longer there, and it was right next to the Coliseum. And we get in. It's a Monday night. We're all kind of a little bit tired, but we'll get started. And the DJ, his name was Lou. I can still remember his name. Every time we saw him, it was like, Lou, because he was a funny guy. So he hears us talking about us, having this big show and stuff. So he goes, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from where the hell we were, and he gives us this big, huge introduction. Like, the place has got 10 people in it. It's like nobody in the place, right? But he's given us this massive introduction. And at the very end, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, the Ken McCoy band, like this, right? And Tony was supposed to start playing as soon as he finished. And all of a sudden, for some reason, there's this dead silence. And you can hear a guy in the very back of the room go, who? our heads went back down to normal again.
Back to reality. Yeah.
Yeah, back to reality. I was like, and like that was it. That's all it took. You see, we're back to the owls again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, man, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to tell us some stories and come on the show here and
thanks.
Share your thing. And yeah, maybe I know I come from the blues world, and you're more the countryside of the
I've
street.
I've been writing everything. You know, I write a little bit of blues, like not a lot, but I dabble in it a little bit because Christy, she sings, like I said, she can sing anything, you know, like a change is going to come when she sings that song, you know, like, and so it's got that rhythm and blues type of feel. So I've been trying to write more blues as well. I'm still kind of learning it a bit. I mean, I know it's people say, oh, blues is, you know, it's easy. It's not easy. It's really not easy. And like as a writer, you know, aspect of it, I've tried. I'm a writer who writes stories. I'm a story writer. Like a lot of my songs, they got a story behind them. And the blues, I found that sometimes they do have stories, but they're more about heartache, you know, that type of thing, lyrically, you know. Yeah. So I, for me, it's one of those things that I'm still trying to, you know, learn to do. So, but because I want to, you know, broaden my, you know, my genres of music, because I like writing all styles.
Are you familiar with Robert Cray?
Yes.
Yeah, I consider him kind of like, you know, he's a big blues influence for me, but I find him one of the few blues storytellers. So I can totally relate to what you're saying there. A lot of blues is just, you know, repeat the same 2 lines 12 times and phrase it a little differently, and there's your blues song, right? As opposed to, you know, having to rhyme a longer story.
Yeah, that's where I've come along. Like I said, the guys that I went to, you know, listened to over the years, you know, like John Prine and Steve Earle. These guys are like amazing writers, just amazing writers. Like they literally just can grab you and pull you into a story. Like they're never been known for great vocalists or anything like that, but they have this, you know, craft of just being able to suck you into the song. And that's the type of stuff that I've always tried to write anyways. You know, it's not easy to do either. No. But for me, like I said, I wanted to start writing different styles is what I like to learn, you know, and see, you know, what I'm, you know, who knows? Like I really liked more of the rock and blues stuff, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. And we were in Ireland and went into, God, I can't remember the name of the town now. It was from where Rory Gallagher was from. So we instantly just put on a streaming service, and it was just all Rory Gallagher as we're driving around where he was born.
Cool.
There's statues of him, and you know, it was really cool. So, and I got to, you know, I really started learning to really like the blues, where, you know, it was never really a big part of my, you know, being in my career as being part of, you know, singing blues and stuff. We did a few songs over the years where we did some Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that, but it was never like, you know, hardcore blues. And hey, if you ever want to, there's another guy that you could probably do one of your podcasts with. His name is Dave Harris. Look him up. He's from Victoria. He still plays around there. But if you're looking for blues records, he probably has the biggest blues record collection in all of Canada. Massive. Like, I couldn't even fit it in this room. That's how big it is. It's just massive.
Wow.
And it's all types of blues. And he's been around for years. And he's a one-man band. He does busking down in Victoria now, but he's done everything over the years. And a really knowledgeable guy about tons and tons of different stuff, especially the blues. Like, you want to know anything about, especially the older blues, he knows all of it.
Nice.
Really good guy to probably talk to.
Yeah, I will. The name sounds familiar.
If you see him, he's a big mop of hair, big beard. Looks like he should be in almost in ZZ Top.
You know what? I think I'm just looking him up right now. Yeah, because I've been out there. Jack Lavin's out there now. Yeah, I've met him a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should reach
He's
out to him. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if anything about the blues, you want to talk about the blues, he's the guy. Yeah, like he's so connected with everything that's, going on, really, really good.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's cool. No, I wanted you on here because I want to, stretch out from the blues side of things. Like I got Russell Jackson. He played, with BB King. I toured with him for 5 years. BB's drummer, Tony.
Oh, wow.
Talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
So, I got my connections in the blues world that, kind of get their tentacles out to, the highest of the high levels, knowing some of the guys in BB King's band. But I want to, I call this like where music and life connect because, well, country and blues are so, I always joke around and they go, what kind of music do you play when you walk into a bar? And they're like, who are you? And I always go, I play both kinds of music, country and Western.
And Western, yeah.
As a joke, but yeah, I want
Well, you listen to some of that old Western stuff. It's some pretty intricate stuff.
It sure is.
Like
I
you
can't
listen
play
to Bob
country with
Wills.
the shit. Country is way too advanced for me.
Oh yeah, you listen to like the old stuff, like the old Texas swing stuff, like Bob Wills and all that stuff. Those were incredible players.
Oh, I know.
Like incredible players. So I mean, like it was more Western swing than it was, I guess, country. But I mean, it was definitely like some of the players they had out there were just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Same with bluegrass. Bluegrass is insane.
Yeah.
Watching some of those guys play. There's a fellow out in, what was it? Out in Newfoundland. He's played on Mama Records. Super nice guy. He used to play lead guitar for Terry Clark, who was a big Canadian artist back in the day. And he toured all over the place. His name's Craig Young. Phenomenal guitar player. And he plays everything, but he's one of these guys who can play rock, blues. But, you put him in there and you hear him play country and it's just like, wow, it's just phenomenal. Like the style of, picking that you gotta, like he's so precise. Like he plays the guitar. We were on in Calgary and he would play with us in the morning. We were the morning band. Then he had another show in the afternoon, and then he'd play in the evening. Then we'd go back to our rooms and play all night long. He'd play like 20 hours a day.
That's crazy.
He would just nonstop play.
Yeah.
He just loved guitar. It's another guy you should probably talk to.
It's another guy I'm going to add to my I hate you list.
Yeah, exactly.
You're too good. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, he plays dobro, mandolin, guitar. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Add him to my I hate you list. I know so many guys like that, man. I'm like, how the hell do you do that shit? No. But...
Yeah, I see you had Jack Semple on here too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We saw him a couple times playing over the years when we were on the road.
Yeah, no, he's a monster for sure.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's one of his favorite players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that
was interesting.
Good. Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. That's I really appreciate it, and it's good to finally meet you. And when I see, I've played out at Porter's a few times, and I saw that you were playing there, so I'm going to double check the calendar. Maybe I'll show up and say hi in person.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If I'm not working that night.
Face to face.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Right on.
Awesome. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again.
Sounds good.
Sure.
Thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. Cheers. Have a good night. Bye.
You too.